I mention that I'm Danish, that's something I go around telling people. It's not that I feel superior, but I am. It does.
You don't look good.
Okay, our next storyteller is a child advocate and a child book illustrator. Please, let's have a hand for Linda Martin. Linda?
Hi everyone. My name is Linda Martin, and this is my third sober Christmas. Third sober Christmas since the mid-70s, so it was a very long time that I've been an alcoholic, really. That means no alcohol in my eggnog this Christmas, no holiday parties, at least no alcohol involved in the holiday parties. I don't have to worry about being embarrassed though after a holiday party anymore and wondering what I did, you know, looking at my coworkers and going, how did I behave last night? All those days are over and it just really feels wonderful. I was born here in Colorado Springs in 1961 and had a fairly regular childhood, nothing, at least the early years, nothing really to write home about. All the normal things that kids do. Toys at Christmas, you know, just uneventful. And then when I turned 5 years old, we moved to Philadelphia. And by that time there were 6 kids. No, there were 6 kids. And my youngest brother was just born. He was probably about maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks old. And my mother had just lost his twin. It's only now that I realize what this must have been for her. I mean, just really recently. Being sober has brought a lot of clarity to my life, but I can also feel so much compassion for other people, including my mother. I thought what that must have been for her to go all the way across country with 6 kids, all under the age of 8, and a dead baby that she had just buried in Evergreen Cemetery. I just can't imagine. And one of the kids traveling was a newborn baby, so it must have been very difficult. So anyway, childhood went on as usual, although there was one element in that childhood. Once we got to Philadelphia, that was my father's home. And my mother endured horrible domestic violence at the hands of my father. And I have forgiven him totally, but that took a long time too. I just didn't, again, I looked at my mother and go, what a saint you are for having endured all the things you have. But it was really, really bad. She had black eyes, busted lips. She taught in the elementary schools and would have to tell people that she had been mugged because they would see the black eyes, and she was constantly wearing sunglasses and things. You know, it's just really a sad time for her, but she kind of shielded us from all of that too. Well, there were 2 very pivotal years for me as a child growing up, and 1973 was the first very pivotal year. I was 11 years old in the 6th grade, and just came home for lunch like I always did. We didn't have a lunchroom in the school, so all the kids went home for lunch and then went back to the school, you know, for the rest of the day. So I did like I normally did, came home from school, and that was the day that my mom decided to put an end to all of the domestic violence. That afternoon, I never went back to school. I never went back to Philadelphia. We were on a Greyhound bus coming to Colorado Springs. Back here, everything I knew about my life changed in that afternoon. My toys, my clothes, my friends, my school, my bedroom, my playground, everything vanished right then and there. And just the other day, in talking with Terry, we were talking about my siblings, and we have never discussed what it was like. You know, I know how I felt about it. We've never, all 6 of us, 7 of us actually, have never sat down and said, this is what this meant to us. I hope someday we get a chance to talk about it, I don't know. So anyway, that was a very difficult year. Coming back here, it was a really big culture shock. I had grown up in West Philadelphia, and that was all black. Coming to Colorado Springs, which was not all black. It was very difficult. Very, very difficult. All new faces, the street names like Conejos and Cacheras, you know, you don't see that back east. So it was just really very difficult, but I did adjust again. You know, just kind of, okay, this is my new life, I'll make new friends. I did fairly well. I was elected 7th grade class president. So, you know life, you know? So the other very pivotal time for my childhood was in 1977. I was 15, and that was the year that I was raped. And that was the year that I lost my childhood. I totally was never going to be a child again after that. And also the year that I became an alcoholic, immediately after that happened to me. My youngest brother was a paper route deliverer, and back then they had, well, I don't know if they still do now, but they had the motor routes, and the person would take you around in the truck, and you deliver the papers in different neighborhoods. Well, he'd been in a horrible car accident. He was riding his skateboard on the end of this on the end of the paper truck, the delivery truck, and the guy stopped, and my brother went up underneath it, and the truck just rolled over him, and he was in the hospital. In a coma, I guess he was. You know, I was still really young, so I wasn't quite sure what was going on. I just knew he was unconscious. My mother, again, it was just, how do you deal with this? This is one of her brood, and she was raising us all alone. And it was just really scary time. So my mother and I would go to the hospital every day and kind of keep vigil over my brother, you know, hoping he'd come out of his coma or whatever he was in. And one day I got a call at the hospital while I'm on the ward. And back then, I don't remember them having phones in the hospital room. So this was on the floor, and I'm thinking, how could I get a call in this hospital? Who would know that I was here? And it was a guy's voice. And he said, yeah, I met you at a party, and you're kind of cute, aren't you? And I'm thinking, what? And I had a really hard childhood. I was never considered pretty or anything, and the boys let me know that right away. I had 2 nicknames in high school. One was Gruesome, and one was Lon Chaney. And that's how it was. I'm okay now, believe me, I'm okay with all my warts and everything else, I'm fine. It was very difficult then. So to hear this guy on the phone tell me, yeah, I met you at this party, I think you're kind of cute. And he even went so far as to say, yeah, you're light-skinned, aren't you? And you have real long hair. And I said, yeah. Well, it's not true. I'm not light-skinned. I never had really long hair. But I said, why not? This guy thinks I'm cute. I'll be everything he wants me to be. Still have no idea who this person is. So somehow or other, he arranged to come to my house, and he did. And I went out to his car, and on seeing him, I knew right away that this was not a high school boy. This was a grown man who was in the Army. And to this day, I was again talking with Terry, and she said, how did this person find you? And it was only now, all these new things are popping in my mind, and new discoveries. It's like, how did this person know who I was? And I think it was probably a prank. Some high school friends of mine met this guy, said give him to Linda, you know, he was a loser, kind of give him to her, and he called my brothers and sisters at home, and I think one of them said, oh, she's at the hospital, this is a number. It's the only thing I can piece together. But anyway, I sit in his car, and I never looked at him really, or even said anything. I was petrified. I had never been around a boy before. I didn't know what to do or say. And he didn't say much to me. There was never any conversation. But what I do remember was suddenly him grabbing me by the back of my head and entangling his hands in my hair and slamming it on his lap, where he forced me to perform fellatio on him right there in the car. This was my very first experience with a boy, and too bad I don't have anything nice to say about that first time, but that's exactly what happened to me. So this is in front of my house too. I thought, how brazen for this grown man to take this child in front of her house and do this. And after this act was over, I remember just bursting into tears, just crying, and he started laughing. What are you crying about? You know, what's wrong with you? There's nothing wrong with this. And this went on every single day for about a month in front of my house. Something that happened, you know? So one day he picked me up and he said, okay, we're gonna go somewhere else. And this was about, again, a month into this act that was just going on. And here I am, you know, I'm trying to be normal in high school, and every night when I come home, this thing is going on. So he picked me up and we drove. And only now, because I really know where I'm at in Colorado Springs, I realized we drove to the KOA campground off of South Nevada. It was a homeless camp for a while. I think it's all been cleared out now. But I remember the sound of the gravel in the road. It's so distinct to me now. Everything has gone back. And that's not a bad thing. I like the fact that I can feel and remember and things now. I'm not anesthetized through alcohol. So I heard this gravel. I can see the darkness, the shadows of the trees, the lights and everything as we're driving in this KOA campground. And then I can remember being lifted up physically and thrown down into the front of the car. And I could feel like the headrest and the steering wheel and all these hard surfaces in the car hitting me in the back of my head, and that is the point at which he raped me. I remember the pain. And I remember him throwing me away almost like a rag doll and saying, okay, I'm done with you now, something really to that effect. And I was so confused. You know, again, I'm 15, this is my first guy or whatever, and this is what it's like, you know? Well, I went on. I guess I'm a survivor, that's all I can think, because I went on with my life. I joined a band at some point. I've always loved to sing, and so I had a professional career as a singer for a while. Just did, you know, really wonderful things, and art was always a part of my life. I've always drawn, always illustrated, and actually realized a childhood dream, and that was to be a published children's author and illustrator. That meant shows, art shows, illustrations for other people. It was really a wonderful thing. So that was one of the things that has saved me, though, through all of this hell that I went through, was to just continue to draw. Unfortunately, through that, though, alcohol was also always a part of my life. I got married and I drank through my marriage. That was in 1983, I think it was like 22. Drank through my entire marriage. It didn't last very long. Drank through all the days I was in the band. Even when I look at my children's books and look at the illustrations, I can tell which ones I messed up painting because I was drunk when I did it. Other people don't know, but I was there. And then I look back and I go, gosh, if I had only done this stroke better, it wouldn't look like this. You know, just all these things now. But it's okay. I went through that, and unfortunately, though, it did get worse. And it got worse and worse and worse. And my tolerance for alcohol grew even more, to the point where I was drinking about 15 to 20 liters of alcohol a week. It's a lot of alcohol. Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah. And just boxes of wine. All my money went to that. I lost 3 jobs. I always had high-profile jobs where I was assistants to executives and whatnot, but it's hard to work when you're calling in drunk, calling with a hangover. I can't come in. I don't feel well. I'd rather stay home and drink. A lot of times it was just that. So I would lose these jobs, and of course that meant I was losing money. I had a house, and I had $50,000 worth of equity in that house, and I lost that because I couldn't pay the mortgage on the house. So, I don't know, somehow I survived that, but it did get worse. My health started to deteriorate. That's when I got really scared, and was threatened with hospitalization, which did ultimately happen. Blood pressure skyrocketing, just weight problems, the whole 9 yards, all the things that go with alcohol, and just really got out of control. And one day I was sitting on my bed, this was in 2009, and I was looking at a half-drunk box of red wine. And I just looked at it, and I remember contemplating, is 10 o'clock in the morning just too early for me to start drinking this? That's a real alcoholic trick. It's one of those things where you keep trying to negotiate. You know, is it okay for me to wake up and have this drink? So I didn't. And I sat there and I said, Jesus, I need you to take this from me. I said, I can't do it anymore. It's not mine. I need to give this to you. I cannot live this way anymore. And immediately, the physical cravings stopped. And I've never had them since. Thank God, is all I can say. I'm so glad they've disappeared. I thought it would be easy from that point. Okay, I've stopped drinking. Everything will get better. Life will change and whatnot. But that's not what happened. I started to have flashbacks, horrible flashbacks. And just remembering the abuse as a child, growing up in that household, the rape, really not very fun teenage years. And all of this stuff flooded back to me. And I said, I'm going to have to do something because I don't want to take another drink again. So I went to therapy. And I found a really good therapist. I used to scoff at people that went through therapy before. I didn't believe in flashbacks. It's only because it happened to me that I know for sure that it really works. They put me through something called EMDR, and that's the kind of therapy where the only thing I can do is kind of show you what it's like, but you focus on this moving object while you're talking, and it's to keep you grounded in the present. And so I did this for almost 2 years. I would go in completely drained, just talking and everything. It was a wonderful therapist who walked me through this. And my partner of 13 years, Miss Octavia, who's sitting right there. Without her, oh my goodness. She drove me to my therapy appointments once a week for 2 years, sometimes twice a week. listened to everything. She's been with me through the good, the bad, and the very ugly. And all I can say is thank you. So anyway, what this has done for me though, these 3 years of sobriety has turned me into the most giving person I can possibly be. It didn't destroy me. It hasn't left me bitter. I even looked up my rapist online, not to contact him. I just wanted to see if this person was still in existence, and he was. Married to a really pretty woman. She's a lawyer, has this great life. At first I had a sense of rage, like, how dare you have a good life after what you did to me? And that was immediately followed by compassion and forgiveness. And I thought, you know, I would rather be me than you anyway, because I didn't perpetrate this on anybody else. You have to live with that, you know? But it's all over, you know? And the type of person I am now is just giving. These holiday seasons, these last 3 holidays, I give. That's what Christmas is for me now. It's not receiving gifts and everything. It's just a friend of mine, single parent, a lot on her hands. I need a babysitter. Okay, I'll do it. I haven't watched the babies in like 30 years. But I did it. You know, and I felt so blessed. I thought, wow, I'm being entrusted with this little bitty human being. Somebody trusts me to do this. And it was a blessing. I love it. So that's where I am in my life now. And tomorrow I will be going to my orientation at the Springs Rescue Mission. Maybe I'll get to serve Christmas dinner to someone or something. I hope it's something like that. But it's just that I stand before you as a survivor. And I hope this story touches other people. This is who I am now. I'm no longer the hurt person, the victim or anything. I'm just a giver. Thank you.